Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 13th meeting of the Quarry Valley UUSD Board of School Directors. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm a different face up here for hopefully just a brief while. My name is Sarah Lonis-Batulik. I am the clerk of the board. And with our recent resignation of our chair and our vice chair who is not able to be here tonight, I am just here to keep things running for this evening. So with that said, our first business is to address the chair position. And we have a couple of options for doing so to put to the board and decide how we want to proceed this evening. So our first option is to elect a chair. We do need to elect a chair. That is the order of business. So the question is whether we're going to elect a new chair tonight or whether we want to delay the election until the September meeting, in which case we will still need to elect a chair pro tempore. Hopefully my Latin was strong on that one, who will preside over the remainder of the meeting tonight and then presumably open the meeting in September. So those are our options, and I would put them to the board to see which option we want to pursue.
I will make a motion to nominate Mike as chair.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to nominate Mike as chair. Any discussion?
I think we should wait for Jesse. That's me pick. You okay, bud?
We're good. Don't worry.
Let's vote on the first motion first.
Sorry, say that one more
That
time.
would be a second motion. You have to vote on the first motion first.
Okay. So, say that again?
You have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
You have to vote on that one first.
Okay,
Tom didn't make a motion, he made a suggestion.
okay. So we have a motion on the floor that still needs to be voted on. Okay. Sorry.
We need a second.
What was that? Well, I asked for discussion. We had a comment. So, all in favor of Mike for chair for this evening?
Aye.
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 How many?
4.
And Pat? Okay. All opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, so the motion passes. Mike will take over from me right now as chair, which is great. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Would you like to swap seats?
No.
All right, I'll stay put.
My follower. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Lisa.
Second?
No second required.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay. We now move into public comments section. The chair will allow 2 minutes for public comment. Is there anyone in person that would like to make a comment first? Seeing none. Anybody online that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. We'll then move to a general consent agenda. Entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Lisa? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same, okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of July 9th, 2026. The chair wasn't here, so he won't be voting on that.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for July 9th.
Sarah, any additions, corrections, or deletions to that you noted?
Nope.
No? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Approval of warrants. Check warrant 645, check warrant 646, check warrant 648, check warrant 649. The numbers are corresponding there. Any questions or concerns about that? Entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Lisa? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Personnel. We have one professional, or several professional, right, Chris? Okay.
Oh, it didn't.
As noted-
It's on our
As noted in your packet,
reports.
we have 3 folks who have been submitted for professional staff that need to be voted on by the board. Any questions for Chris concerning that? I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Yep, I'll make a motion to
Sarah?
approve the
Okay.
professional staff whose contracts have been recommended.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Reports. We're down to superintendent's report.
Thanks, Mike. So I just have a few items. It is the summertime, we're just getting things ready to go. I know that the admins can talk a little bit about building preparations here. There is one item I just want to update, around the Southwest CISA, Cooperative Education Services. We did have our first meeting last week. I don't know if and you had a chance to view it. It seemed like the meeting was close to 2 hours, and we walked out of there, I think, with more questions than answers. We're still trying to, set bylaws. We're still trying to figure out what next step, particularly around budgeting. I did share the concern that was expressed at the SU board meeting around timing of meetings, but the meetings are going to be held the third Fridays at 8:30 a.m., which is try to make it earlier so people can attend. The goal would be to provide a uniform report at our SU board meeting, and also all local boards will get this as well as we move forward. But as I stated at the meeting, there's a lot of great work that can be done. It's a question in terms of, like I said, what sort of red tape or sort of parameters are in place that allow us to do that work. The concern that I did express to the CISA board is initially, this is supposed to be CISAs are supposed to be put into place to reduce cost for member districts and member SUs, and it seems as if the initial cost will be asking our local districts, our local SUs to pay some cost on the upfront. So that's something we have to take a look at around services, around staffing. But we will be bringing back information, like I said, to local boards, to the SU, just for, opinions, for thoughts, perspectives around how we move forward.
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
that? The CISAs were given some kind of like seed funding to get started. So you're saying that an additional contribution from SUs might happen sooner than later, or might be at the same time?
Right, so there's $15,000, which we're still waiting to see, like, in terms of how that really kind of spelled out. And then there's $50,000, which is supposed to be used towards the appointment of an executive director. And as we looked at just what the expectations of that individual is, we really don't have job descriptions. Time, and I know there was a motion to just set forth like $100,000 for this individual, but we felt it wasn't necessarily fair to start putting a dollar amount when we really don't know what the expectations of that position are. That might be just a high number, or it could be very low. We just don't know, but we thought just to shelve that. But you look at hiring legal, the executive director. We're looking at there's a need for an admin assistant, staffing. The initial money might be it's going to be more than what they.
It's not enough to cover what's needed to get started.
Correct. And if we look at how our budget cycle lays out, that the real way you offset that cost is by looking at for ways to reduce, across our districts in the region. And in order to do that, it's going to be very difficult for this budget cycle. As we look at the following year, we could easily look at, say, just, from a facility standpoint, tech standpoint, special education, financial ways to reduce cost, ways to, particularly pooling services, programs. But that's difficult to do when we really have to start looking at our budgets for, this fall already. So
It'd be really for the FY '28. So, if we were going to do it the right way. So, but I, encourage everyone, we are going to set up a link to the Act 1, we're going to create an Act 170 drop down on our website, which will have access to all this information around what Act 170 is and the merger committees and the CISAs, and there will be a link to we have a CISA website which will house the recordings of the videos, the minutes, as well as the shared reports once we develop those to bring back to the boards. So, and we're also looking at doing a potential FAQ, similar to what we've done with our own budget page, but hopefully we'll get some more FAQs about this. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions on the community members or on our board about what this is and how do we really take advantage of that. But right now there weren't a lot of answers. So. And that's not just with our CISA, I think all the other CISAs had the same sort of questions, I think, as well. So, but our goal is to be fiscally responsible, and like I said before, really is to look at ways to look for economies of scale and efficiencies across our districts, and not to increase costs to our communities, our taxpayers. It's ways to reduce costs by still providing programs and services to our schools. So,
It did seem a bit of the takeaway from some superintendents where they thought it appeared like it might just be another taxing district. And particularly when there was such focus on the lack of, I guess, direction provided from the legislature and/or AOE, who it appears, because it's not something AOE supports, that they're going to be much of a leader with these, that, and I thought what the Rutland superintendent said, we all have to belong, but what if I don't need your services? How do I go back and say that this is me being fiscally responsible? So it does seem like it would almost be impossible, I would think, for this board to come and ask for us to budget money for the next fiscal year. There are so many questions that need to be answered. And I don't see how any board would be fiscally responsible in giving money to an entity that actually isn't even developed. You don't have bank accounts, you don't have any kind of source like that. And when it's almost like it was developed and now underneath that SUs are going to be the funding source, and to me that doesn't seem fiscally responsible. So
correct.
Shocking as it is, this was one place last year in legislative session that I supported Zoe, that I think this is simply just another hand over the top of us doing exactly what we're already doing within our SUs.
Correct. So I think that was the takeaway from some of the superintendents as well, is that if we are going to do this right, we need to be strategic. We have to be and think about how we can incrementally build this instead of just haphazardly just moving forward, or just aggressively moving into this. And really, the first year may just be about formation, about visioning, working with our local districts, looking to see what's going on with our merger committees as well. And as we look at FY '28, if we are going to look at shared programs, resources, then if there is additional costs, it's being offset by cuts that we are making across our districts, or we're looking at, like I said, the redundancies or the economies of scale or these efficiencies that we've found. So it's not that we're just coming back and saying we need more money because we're going to add this before we've taken away. And I think that's our goal, is how do we be strategic about this, but not just move forward, quickly move forward. And I think that the problem is some of our legislators across the state have sold us as, well, here's where the money's going to be saved, here's where the cost cutting is. And so, yes, that's true, but it's going to take some time for us to really go through and assess where we're at for each SU or each district, and then try to find that money. And I know that we had looked at, even just here in the RSU, around facilities directors, and we found that while the money was not a lot by doing this, but it may be something which, regionally might be better, be a bigger savings. And there are also, and I will say this, we have a very large CISA group too. And as we look
Right.
at what makes sense from partnerships, while we may be looking at partnering with, say, maybe Slate Valley or Rutland Northeast, which makes sense to us because they're regionally, very close to us, or Mill River, Rutland City, to engage in a partnership with, say, with Bennington, Rutland, or the Southwest Vermont, and if they, during the merger, they go somewhere differently, then it doesn't really make much sense. So I think there's a lot of dust that needs to settle here, too, so.
Well, it also appears to me that the $15,000 is suddenly going to be a funding source for the existing CISA, which legislature will then use as a misnomer that this CISA has been very successful. If every form CISA has to now pay $5,000 to receive the benefit of their knowledge, when they gave testimony, they didn't really show the data of where these enormous savings were. So I think that there's the ability for it to be a little misaligned too. That has to be, if all of the sudden this becomes the CISA, whatever that one is, or the Vermont Learning Collaborative, is that what it's called?
VLC.
We have that on Mount Olympus. Well, if everybody that's just been formed is giving them $5,000 for them to fetter out, information, that there's a little, you have to temper that as well also. So, and I actually think that that is information that should have been provided in the, 73 or 100 pages from the legislature, that they were so high on CISAs that they should have provided a little more. So.
Before we move on to whatever else the superintendent has, any other questions concerning the CISA meeting or concern? Yes, go ahead. State your name.
My name is Megan Old. Can you spell what is CISA? Is that?
It's cooperative, it's an acronym for, Cooperative Education Services Association. So so New York has what's called a BOCES, or I know that the state doesn't like when we say it, but it's a variation of an SU.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to what we engage in with our supervisory union. We have local districts that pool together and share resources. We look at, business manager, the superintendent, assistant superintendent, financial offices. So it's similar, but it's in a larger.
It's like 10, right? 8.
It's Rutland City, Slate Valley, Rutland Northeast, Mill
9.
River, Bennington, Rutland, and then Southwest Vermont. And then there's a Southwest Tech Center as well, which operates as a separate, that's a little bit different than what Stafford is here. So, and it's a very large, it runs all the way from Brandon all the way down to the Massachusetts border, so it's a large piece of land, so.
Who would ostensibly be sharing services.
Correct.
That has no home and no formation and no leader.
Any other
Just to
questions?
put
for-
that in perspective.
right.
Any other questions for Chris? I know if you watched, George, I know, attended from GRCSU and, was online, there was quite a vigorous discussion about the question, well, what if you want this and I don't want this? Am I going to have to still fund it? So Chris was an advocate in slowing that thinking and saying, hey, we need to think this through, how that process is going to work. And they didn't seem there was any answer legislatively how that was going to work. So that's something we probably want to keep our eye on, because somebody may say, hey, I don't want to pay for this. So, and we may be the ones, who knows? We don't know yet. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes.
Well, there also was discussion about how you're paying if you're paying per pupil. And so how does the tech center pay? Because,
Correct.
Which is already part
It'd
of,
be double billed, kids
Yeah.
already paying through. So.
yeah,
And I think that's established in the bylaws in terms of membership dues. 'Cause
Yeah.
the draft that was presented was just around ADM, which obviously you can't do that because you have to look at it, split that up to either just a base fee and then.
right,
you
a
pay
base
for
fee seems
services.
more
Correct.
equitable,
Then you
yeah.
pay for services.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
All right, thank you.
anything else to follow up on, Chris?
No.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Principals report, I guess we'll start with, who wants to?
So real quick, so what I'd like to do is just have the principals quickly just give a brief update if they would, and then I know that at the end of the last meeting, Pat had asked a question around her concerns around our student achievement and as well professional learning. So therefore, Lisa Madison, who is our assistant superintendent, is on vacation this week, but Todd Wiedemann, who is curriculum coordinator, is here tonight, and then we have a presentation which we'll kind of address some of those concerns, and then we can do some follow-up questions, if that's okay with the board.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so.
All right, I'll go first again. All right, cool. All right, so good evening, everybody. For those of you that are in the audience, I'm Jay Slinker. I'm the principal of the West Rutland School. Following the format here, looking at student learning updates, I spent, while VitCap scores are embargoed right now, we've got them, we've unpacked them. Our staff is going to be working with them later, once they're not embargoed. I'm pleased with the results that I see. I'll leave it at that. We've been working on spring fast bridge data, which is going to be addressed later tonight. And we've actually used those to create our intervention groups for the fall already. Just like the other schools, the high schools, we've been dealing with our cell phone lock boxes and getting those mounted, and coming up with procedures. And actually, we have actually spent the time, and I haven't talked to Joe or to Jen about it in detail, but we've been trying to troubleshoot as kids come in late, leave early dismissals, those types of things, and their cell phones are locked, how to minimize the disruption to learning in grades 7 through 12. And I think we've actually come up with some pretty good internal mechanisms to not have this when Timmy all of a sudden has to go at 11 o'clock, and his phone is in his last block's class. So we've been working through a lot of that stuff. I included a copy of our continuous improvement plan. The board always looks at our handbooks. I know Chris had that, it was in the agenda. So West Rutland, I've got the elementary, I've got the high school, and I included the staff handbook, so folks can see. We actually also have a new staff handbook. That is something that we've had for at least 9 years now. New staff members come in and we find it very helpful with pictures of who to go to, not just their name. So we only have a couple new staff this year, which is really nice. Our turnover has been very, very low the last few years. So all of this takes a lot of time. We've also had, we started our summer with a humanities camp, which had probably 16 people in it that Wendy Doust and Andrew Keeler, middle school teachers, run. We've had Boys and Girls Club there all summer. Tomorrow is their last day. We've had electricians there working on the new security system, camera system that the board approved in the spring. Thank you very much. And we also have had our summer extended school year services for students with disabilities. So when everyone's like, oh, your building must be nice and quiet, there hasn't been a day, and I'm not exaggerating, there hasn't been a weekday except for the 4th of July that we haven't had students in the building. And our custodians have done a really good job trying to work around a lot of people in the building. There's literally 100+ students in our building every day. So hats off to those students. And we're looking forward to the school year. My back to school letters went out yesterday to both parents and to the staff. And then within minutes, my phone is now ringing and emails are coming in, oh, you're there. And been here all summer. So, but it's great to be able to hedge those issues or problems that parents have or staff have last minute concerns. So, and sports started today. So, and football started on Monday for the kids who are going to Fairhaven to play over there. So it's been a very, very busy, I have one paraeducator who resigned midsummer, and we are actively working with Tammy and our special ed department to fill that position. We're interviewing actually next week. So, yeah, lots going on. If there's any questions, there's a lot of information in these links that I've given you too.
Any questions for Principal Jay? No? The only thing I have a question to ask is, did we mention Destination Imagination, the outcomes of that?
I think I addressed it at the June meeting, which seems awfully long ago. So our Destination Imagination team went to the Worlds in Kansas City, Missouri, all fundraised. Hats off to all the folks like Velco, Green Mountain Power, Stewart's, and a whole lot of other folks. They actually raised or were donating private funds, given so much money that we actually have all of our seed money for next year, and we could go back again if we win. We had won the state competition, we were invited to the Worlds, and our students took away a couple of prizes, and I don't remember exactly what they did, but we sent 4 students and 2 adults to Kansas City, and they were the lone Vermont representative at Destination Imagination Worlds. And it was great to see their projects.
And what teacher headed that up?
Wendy Doust heads it up with a woman named Tanya, and her last name is escaping me, who is a Green Mountain, was it?
Dolnicki?
Nope.
No.
She is she works for Green Mountain Power, and she donates her
Tanya from
time.
up on the hill. Remember, she used to be on the
Yeah,
board.
Ruth's mother.
Tanya Erickson.
Erickson, thank you.
Tanya, yeah, that's right.
I was like, it is an E, Tom, it
Starts
is
with
an
an
E.
E, yes.
You were right.
Yep, Tanya Erickson, thank you, yes, thank you. So they spend a lot of time, it's 2 days a week. We actually have a 5th and 6th grade team, middle school team, and we're probably gonna be moving into an older group next year. It's a real hit with our students. For those of students that are not thinking about sports, drama, they're looking for an outlet. This gives students with very creative minds a really nice outlet for them. So hats off to them. And it's a long-standing program at Westside.
And that's open to all students in Quarry Valley?
Yes, it is, if they choose to come. It's been a big hit. We probably have 20, 25 people involved in it. So it's a big hit.
Good,
So, yep,
thank you.
yep.
Yeah. Principal Joe?
Yeah, ditto, what he said. Joe DeBonis, Pontley High School principal. The summer is gone by quick. Somebody was in today, it's like, it's next week, we're, new teacher orientation, and next Friday is everybody's together, and we're going from there. Like Jay, I sent out my newsletter yesterday. I did send out a letter at the beginning of the year, or beginning of the month, and I sent my newsletter out yesterday, and the format we use, it tells me like when I get 50, 100, I had 250 people look at it within less than 24 hours. I'm like, I don't think I've ever had that before. So people are like, I'm taking that as, people are excited to get back, so.
To come.
Yeah, we have, we didn't have as many people in our building, but, we had the ESY in for 4 weeks over the month of July. We had rec department in there too, so it was great to see, and, our kids work with the rec department, because Pontley's rec is usually up to like 6th grade, so a lot of our kids work as counselors with and it's kind of nice to see some of these kids that, you see them in the classroom and in the hallways, and then you see them working with these kids, like, oh, you can do this, this is awesome, this is good for them. We have done, like you said, working on the handbooks. I know Jay and Jen and I and Ryan and Mark and Mackenzie spent a morning at Proctor working on the coach's handbook as well. And we've had several meetings with we really went through the Quarry Valley handbook for the high school this year. We do have our staff handbook. I just met with my office staff last week, and we're kind of just finalizing that too, so it's still in a draft form. Get that done, due next Monday, so we're good. A lot of the work, the guys have done a great job in the building. Like yesterday, we were working remotely because they were doing the main lobby, so, but they got through, and I think everything should be done. We're still waiting on the paving company, supposed to come in. They're doing a job in Pontley, so fingers crossed they get it done before school starts, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal if it's not, because it's out front and people can figure stuff out with that. But yeah, we're looking at a lot of, I think we talked about it, we weren't here last month, but Jay and I and Tyler and Liz went to a training about reunification if there was something we had to leave the school, and that was very good. And I went to another one too with the I Love You Guys Foundation. Or no, that was the I Love You Guys. The other one, a Run, Fight, Hide type thing. So a lot of working with a lot of safety stuff too this year. Emergency preparedness and all that kind of stuff. But it's been a good summer. We're looking forward, like Jason, we only had 2 new hires, and one of them was in district, so they just came to us from Proctor. And you just approved our school nurse tonight, so we're ready to roll.
Good deal. All right, any questions for Principal Joe?
I know.
Yes, go ahead.
What's going on, what is going to happen with the banners that we're all taking down?
We don't know yet. We're still having, they're there, so we're still waiting to see. Some of the individual ones we're putting up, like the ones that are like, we're putting those back up, the cross-country and golf and that kind of stuff that, they're more like individual, not team ones, but we haven't really figured out what we're doing with them yet, so,
No, I've asked since
I know.
a long time.
They're still there. They're not people come up to me and say, I heard you threw them in the dumpster. Yeah, we threw them in the dumpster. I mean, they're still, I mean, we have them there. They're, we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do with them, so.
The consensus from what I'm hearing is they should go back up.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room for them.
Is that a PTO, driven, Pat? Is that?
No.
No, it's not.
It's alumni members.
Yeah.
All
Alumni.
these banners came down,
Okay.
and
We had individual banners, and then we put new banners up, so like we just said state championship basketball, and they listed all the years on there instead of having
Okay.
6 different banners or whatever like that, so, when we did the gym, that's one thing we did. Oh, I did want to say too, speaking of that, we did meet with, some community members a few weeks ago. We are pushing unofficially to have our kids do, community service with the town. And then, Mark was like talking with the coaches about, and actually we met with them last year, and it just kind of, the communication just fell through, because we have staff members and kids that, like our National Honor Society and student councils, like, we want to do something. We want to get out in the community, but what can we do? So it was a good meeting. We met with the Rotary and somebody else that has their fingers involved in a lot of the community organizations. And, as we were talking, it's like, like the chili cook-off. The lady was like, I have to sit there and take all these cups and put them in a thing, like, bring them into the school. We'll do it. We got kids. We got, they don't have to be out in the public doing it. We can do stuff like that. So, it's great. I think, we always talk to the kids about give back to the community, because the community's been very supportive. So hopefully we can get this rolling, with trying to do, this community service with our students and
Very good.
out there.
Good.
So.
Any questions for Principal Joe? Please document that stuff, especially pictures, so we can
Yeah.
have that. It's
Yep.
good. It's good for public relations there. Principal Kristen?
Okay, I think you all know me, all my members, all me visitors. We, like my colleagues, have been just getting things ready for opening day, scheduling mandatory trainings. Joe and I actually are going to be working together in October, doing a reunification training should anything occur amongst either or both of our schools. So they're going to come down and help us with that. Our handbooks are completed. They're linked in there. The continuous improvement plan was approved by the state, and that's linked in there. I've been going through files, and we've been creating class rosters, assigning new students. We've registered, as of today, 15 new students, which is a really good thing. We're getting our benchmark screening schedules, we're getting everything ready. Nothing is set in stone. We'll run around the first week there and say when we're going to do it, especially with the K1, kindergarten, first grade. VITCAP scores, I'll talk a little bit more about that after when Tyler talks about data. Welcome back packets went last week. We have open house scheduled for September 16th, and there's a kindergarten meet and greet next Wednesday, the 19th, from 2 to 4. And I would like to acknowledge there are a group of parents in sixth grade, of sixth grade students, that have been fundraising in the hopes to bring Camp Gingercook back this year. So.
We're off to a great start for that, actually.
Actually, I know you are.
Yeah.
Say that again, Lauren.
We're off to a really great start for that.
Say it again, from the beginning, the organization, or what was the genesis?
What are you raising money for?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're trying to take the kids to Camp Gingercook. So it's actually a trip that me and my husband had gone on when we were in sixth grade.
Where's that?
Lake George.
Okay.
Yeah. So something we have fond memories of. So it's nice to have the chance to bring our kids back there.
Any questions for Principal Kristen? Yes, Pat?
I have one.
Yeah.
At the last select board meeting, the town crew man there, manager, said that they were waiting for the elementary school to do the sidewalks so they could continue doing the work that they have to do. But the sidewalks is apparently something that is only for the grade school. You had information on it, they don't know where it stands.
Who is asking you about this?
Joel
Okay,
and Paul Donaldson.
Okay.
It's the Safe Routes
It's a Safe Routes to School.
program.
that we got a grant that they were a part of that.
Right.
They had to be a part of that
Right.
as part of the town. And they were going to upgrade the sidewalks
Oh.
on our area.
No, I understand that, it's just,
I don't see,
There was they didn't have anybody bid on it. They're supposed to do paving around the elementary school, that Wheeler Ave that goes to elementary school, and they were gonna wait and do the paving when they did the sidewalks, so there wasn't,
where I want to be one way.
yes, it's gonna be one.
Sorry.
But that's what last I was told is that, and that was last month, they didn't have anybody that bid on it, so they were trying to find someone that could do it, hopefully within the next couple weeks before school starts.
okay, it just came up at the select board meeting, and I said I would throw it out there.
Yeah.
I had no clue what was going on.
Well, again, it's a
but-
grant that we received working
Yeah.
with Safe Routes to Schools because of our partnership that we have. And the town was aware of it, but we can't get anything. It's not, we don't control it, let's put it that way. It's the Department of Highways.
Should be select board
Yes.
oversee. right?
No, they had to sign off on it.
Oh,
It's a,
Some of it's a in-kind
Grant.
grant, like,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
town and the village will sit there and help out, but.
Usually there's an entity that has to be the signer for it. And that's not us, that was probably the select
Right.
board? Yeah, okay. Does that
They were
answer?
just wondering what happens. And I know they're looking at winter months. We're gonna have time to do that and be ready for that. There's an issue with the road right directly out of the grade school that is causing some problems. So I said I would just throw it out. See if somebody could at least talk to Paul or Joel or somebody to let them know what's going on. I don't, I just thought, I said I would mention.
I have a village meeting next Thursday, so I can
Well, there you go.
find more.
So would you follow up on that and get back to Pat, and Pat can get back to us?
We met last month, that's what I was told, is that nobody had bid on it. They were trying to find someone to bid, because they were trying to get the paving crew in, like now, like the last couple weeks of August, to pave it before school started.
Sounds like leftism talking to right here.
We-
And no reflection on anybody, it's just,
Yep.
they said they had heard
What's
nothing.
the status
and
is
they-
really what the question is, what's the status, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Kristen, I have a question for you. You said you had
Yes,
15
sir.
kids sign up? Did you anticipate 15 or more or less? Because sometimes I know schools have an idea about how many are coming and they get surprised with extras, so are we in the ballpark, or?
usually it ebbs and flows, between 5 and 10. 15's a good number.
So wait and see.
Yeah.
Yep, good
Our
deal.
enrollment's up,
Good deal,
so.
good deal, all
And you
right.
have people that come in the first day of school saying, hey,
Yes.
we moved to town in June, but we
That's,
didn't
that's,
register your kid though, hey.
Kinda where I was
try to find
leading
a
to.
schedule for
I
you.
remember one year when literally there was a line out into the lobby with people registering on the first day. Never forget that.
Good problem to have.
sometimes you can
Tammy was loving
anticipate,
life that day.
sometimes you can anticipate it because you know, and other times you just completely get
Right.
blindsided, it's a good thing. Just means a little extra work for a couple of days, so.
And we have, on our pre-K, we have a couple kids on our wait list, so
Very good.
there's that.
Good deal. Good. Any questions for Kristen? Okay. Liz, Principal Liz?
Yeah, hi, everybody. So we actually have had no one in our building this summer for first time in a few years. Boys and Girls Club was hosted at West Rutland. So the highlight of my summer has been when new families come in and they want the tour, sweet kindergartners coming in, families first time, lots of questions. It's really nice to be able to talk about all the great things that we have going on and what we offer for students. So that's been fun. I actually met a sweet little family again today. hoping that they bottle up that energy and bring it back in a few weeks as well. So lots of that. We've been able to get a handful of things done. Currently, we are trying to repaint the hallways, just a fresh coat of paint on everything to brighten it back up. I have put out a bid with Lewis, working with Lewis and our facilities director, Jamie Provo, for a parking lot paving. So that went out into the Rutland Herald, or will go out, with the scope of the project being 2 different possibilities. So looking to see what we get for that. It's been a long time since that happened. We have fence poles in for a new fence that's going around our pre-K playground, and to kind of close off the playground that runs into the parking lot, just for an additional layer of safety. So that's been a lot of, I've learned a lot this year. I am not a hands-on, get me in there, do those kinds of things. So I've done that. I spent a lot of time looking at the data that we had, re-looking at our literacy and math plans that came directly from our SIP. That's also in the drive for you all. Just really ready to get everyone back in. I only had 2 new staff members this year, 1 instructional assistant and our behaviorist. So we've had people in and out, rooms are ready, building's ready, just waiting for our back to school barbecue the night before school. And with that, we are also going to be doing a book giveaway, since we were awarded the Cliff Grant. So our official kickoff will be September 18th with author Ted Shy, who'll be coming in, and we'll do a second book giveaway. But in our back to school letter and the email I sent today, it was just noted again, anybody in Proctor can come and get a book for that night. So really excited to see where that all takes us. And our enrollment is ebbing and flowing. I didn't put it in for this month because, we're somewhere between 5 and 10 as well. So I'll get you one for September.
Very good. Any questions for Principal Liz? No? Okay. Oh, Jen. Jen.
I am online, but my internet is going in and out, Mike, so if anyone has any questions, a lot of information is in my board report. And I'm actually going to be quiet, so I'm happy to answer any questions above and beyond what's in their report.
Mark that down.
Yeah.
Any questions for the quiet Principal Jen?
The calm before the storm. Vacation.
You only get lucky once.
Well, thank you for checking in on your vacation. That's above and beyond. So, any questions for Jen? No? All right. Go have fun.
What are you bringing me back?
All right. Moving on.
So, this is where I, Vermont.
Ty, would you introduce
Yes.
yourself, please, so in
Yep.
your position, so people who might be familiar?
Yeah, for those of you that I have not met yet, my name is Tyler Wiedemann. I am the curriculum coordinator for Greater Rutland County. So we prepared a presentation for you. I say we because it's building principals and myself. Just show this stuff, go to that screen. There we go. So basically, we put together a presentation for you about our data presentation about our VidCap scores and our FastBridge scores for each building. One thing to keep in mind, VidCap is from.
Would you define just could
Yes.
you use acronyms, just so?
Yeah, sorry with education. We use so many different acronyms. But the VidCap is the Vermont Comprehensive Assessment, which is from Cognia, the company that puts that test out. That is our mandatory state testing. It's done once a year, typically in March, over a course of a couple of different weeks. In ELA, and actually let's see here, let me go ahead here. So right here, this is everything about VidCap. We started doing it in 23-24, and the data you're going to see in this presentation is from 2025. We do have the information from 2026, what we just did. However, we're not allowed to put that out publicly yet. But our buildings are looking at that information and making decisions instructionally and educationally based off that information. So just a caveat for that. So we're tested in ELA, math, and science. And then our FastBridge screeners, and those are done with a little more regularity. Those are done 3 times a year. That is a computer test that is typically about 15, 20 minutes, half hour period of time, and again, done in the fall, winter, and spring. And those are, we make a lot of educational decisions based off of how students are scoring on those assessments as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Kristen here, and she has the first little bit of data for you to see.
Okay. As you can see for VITCAP, there's an upward trend. Are we on ELA?
Yep.
I think it's 13% over 3 years, which isn't great, but it's an upward trend, so we're happy with that.
Kristen, I'm sorry, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
It's a little challenging to see what's what just with the smallness of it. So maybe when you're referring to everyone, when you're referring to different trend lines, could you just say like on the right-hand side of
go
the
up and
screen
point
or
to
the
it.
stuff that's in the middle or on the left, just so we
Do the Vanna
know.
White thing?
Because I actually can't read the labels on any of that. Thank
It is
you.
hard. This comes from our Open Architect program, which all of our administrators and teachers have. It's our data management system. And our goal last year was to have admin be really fluid with it. But actually, we introduced it to our teachers in March,
It's March.
was it March?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
ran
okay,
the
March.
training.
It all blends together, I'm sorry. But we introduced it to teachers in March, and now they all have access to it and are using it quite frequently. Sorry.
That's okay. Well, it's up in the upper left corner, and I will just give you, I can give you the percentiles. Polton Elementary School from 2023 was started at 46% proficient, which is not great, and 2024 went up to 53%, so there's some gain there, and 2025's 59%. So again, it's not great, but it is steady.
Thanks, Kristen.
And if you also want to look at this, on the graph on the right, the green line is the school, the dotted line is the state.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Growth.
Yep.
So the math.
Okay, for math, up in the left corner, math, it's surprising to me that we didn't make as much progress as we did in reading, because typically our school has always been more adept in math. So we're kind of flipping the grid there. 36% proficient in 2023, went up 40% in 2024. And then the 2025 data, which is the last data we can use, is 43%. So again, we're climbing up, but not as fast or as high as we'd like to go, see our scores go.
You basically already talked about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be our fast bridge,
Yep.
ELA.
ELA, upward trends.
And so, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say that this is a graph of percentile at nation over time. So how we're doing against national scores over time. And I know, I'm sorry, the grid is kind of small. In the one on the right looks like stairs. That starts at school year 22-23 and then in this current year 25-26. Okay. So that would be our ELA scores. Math scores, same. And then
Okay, I'm just going to take what I had written some comments for both the VITCAP and FastBridge, but I'd like to just read some things that I took out so you wouldn't have to hear me just read from the slide, if that's okay. So even though both the VITCAP and FastBridge data indicate upward trends, both individual growth and overall school proficiency, we know that we've got work to do. And plans that we have moving forward are to continue reviewing data during our PLC time, which is an hour weekly, and during our MTSS meetings, which are held once a week. And we use this time to look at the data and modify classroom instruction and interventions as needed. I mean, that's the best practice, is use data to guide your instruction. School-based PD this year will include keys to early writing training. The teachers will need to work on modules, and we have a specific timeline set out for that. And we're going to be starting that next week, actually. And we also used time for peer modeling and sharing our lessons that we've created. You know, we may be doing a Bridges unit, and Bridges is our math program. We may bring teachers in to share how they did, share a lesson in front of their peers, and talk about how, and then as a group, talk about how they could see that work in their classroom, or, you know, sometimes we try the same lesson. So we're kind of using each other as resources. I'm really looking forward this year to see changes out of what we did. We worked with the literacy consultants through the AOE, the Read Vermont initiative last year, and we developed activities and processes, I guess you would say, based in the science of reading, and I'm gonna be looking to see how those are working in the classrooms this year during literacy centers. And then after, you had already mentioned the 2026 FitCap data is out, and I can say I'm pleased. But the interventionists and I have already identified the areas of weakness, which include problem solving in the area of math and opinion writing in ELA. And we're creating a timeline of how we want to use the faculty meetings to specifically address those issues. And we will share the data in 2026 when we can.
Typically in the fall.
Yeah, should be coming soon. We're very fortunate in my school that we collaborate a lot. If a teacher needs something, they go to someone and we help each other in that way. So peer observations and modeling lessons at the school level has been helpful for us. And we can debrief and talk about program implementation and best practices and identify ways we can support students and each other with new programs. So, as I already mentioned, we review data weekly through our MTSS team meetings and monthly during our data PLC meeting time. And we just see where we need to help, either at the individual student level, at a small group level, or at the classroom level as a whole. And we have a document that we'll be sending home to parents in September. And it just has, lists of resources and then quick and easy activities to do at home to support what we're doing in the school, which I think is helpful. I know we talk about these things with parents when we're in MTSS meetings, but not all parents are in MTSS meetings. So this is kind of going to be a document that we share out for everyone.
Okay, Joe, you're up.
All right, no sugarcoating. Our scores went down. This is from FY '25, so we have done, last summer, we went through and we kind of revamped on how we're doing things. There is, again, as I'll repeat what they said about the FY '26 scores. It's not as much improvement as we want to see, but we're getting there. At least the arrows are going up. We looked at our math increased slightly, but again, we're still below the state average. But we looked at targeted intervention for our students last year, utilizing our win blocks more. Our 9th grade students, when we take this, some of them take like ELA and math in the fall, and then we do the testing in March or April. So they haven't had math or English for a few months, so we did some targeting interventions for our 9th grade students, kind of like some tutoring with our teachers, kind of brought them in during win block right before the test, just kind of like a refresher type thing. We've changed how we're doing our data, looking at instruction and stuff like that, and just a little thing like, I keep getting this wrong, but I think probability. Like Christina Kerber in 7th grade was looking at probability, there's questions about probability on the bid cap. She's like, that's what I'm teaching in May, and we've already taken the bid cap. So now, she'll throw in probability, on a half day or something, like she finishes a unit on a Thursday, on a Friday, she'll throw in some probability stuff. So at least the students get to see, they have some of it. It's not, so, we're looking at how we do our curriculum and that type of thing. Family and community engagement, a lot of this, Mark and I have looked at the data too, and our attendance it's getting better, but, the correlation between you're not here and here's your test scores, I'm not a math person, but Mark is, and we're looking at the plot graph or whatever it is, and it's just like, people that missed 2 days of school had 4s, and the people that missed 15 plus are doing it once, and they're the bid cap. So, again, there's that correlation. If you're not there, you're not learning. You have gaps in your learning and that type of stuff. So we're really, the thing I sent out yesterday, we're really focusing on attendance this year as well, to get in there, and just looking at things with best practices. Our staff did the roll-in playbook last year. We're working literacy across the thing this year. And, we do have, this is, I think, our third or fourth year with interventionists. We don't have full-time interventionists. We share some with West Rutland. But, those first year or two, you're like, how do we, we hadn't had interventionists. So like, how do we use interventionists? Do we push in? Do we pull out? So we're, playing with that. And I think we got it down pretty good right now, how our interventionists are working with kids. As of right now, we have a full-time ELA interventionist, but we don't have a math interventionist this year. So, but, we make do. Our FastBridge scores are actually pretty decent, and, let's say, there's a gap between the correlation of what our FastBridge scores are and what our VidCap scores are. So we're seeing growth in our FastBridge scores, and, especially, and I couldn't tell you why, but we look at like our winter peaks, and then it kind of drops, There is some, the fall one, it's not too bad. I don't know if the spring, the kids are just done and we're ready to, I got high school kids, they're not like the elementary school that want to please their teacher, they're just like, we're done, just give us the test and we get out of here. But our scores in the winter seem to be doing pretty well. Those are our English scores, and then our math. This year did really well in our math. See how we're going up on that. We've had that steady growth over the years in our FastBridge. But like we said, the scores continue, our FastBridge scores continue to grow, but that VidCap suggests there's a gap translating those skills between our in-house screening assessments and the state testing. So we're working a lot of, Mark and I have looked at our PLC calendar and a lot of, what we can do for data. So we're working on that this year too as well. Again, we saw the change last year. And we're trying to make it more, even the teachers are trying to get it, with the kids, we're making it more important. We're kind of like, providing snacks for the kids, bringing them into the library. Like, this is important when we do the VidCap testing. And again, no excuse for this year, but I know, and everyone had, the whole state had it where in the ELA, like the last one was an essay, and if they try to hit save, because they needed, to continue it, they couldn't get it back. So some kids had like one sentence, other kids had most of it done, but it was a whole statewide thing, so it wasn't just our kids, and it was like, you wrote something, at least, but, yeah, it was fun being in the library with our 8th graders this year, trying to like, all the hands going up, oh, you can't get in, it's like, okay, just relax, we'll get you.
Yep, all right. So highlights, VidCap, 15% increase over the last 3 years in ELA. That's a celebration right there. The test has only been out a few years. I want to say now in my 35th year in education in Rutland County, this is my 4th version of state testing. My 2 years prior to that in New York State, we had one test. They still have the Regents exam.
Yep.
It is very challenging when the state rolls out new tests. It's not an excuse, it's just a fact. And I 15% increase in test scores is pretty remarkable over 3 years. So I expect that trend to continue. In math, on the next score, I only saw a 4% increase. It's something that we've been working on. There's really not an excuse for this. The students, you see the trend line for the state, the dotted line on the right-hand side is trending down, ours is trending up. That's great. I don't mind being compared to the state, but I want to see a continued growth across our own school. So that's what we need to work on. And so we are doing a lot of different things. Science, I also included, that is also a newer test, and so we've been working on that as well. One of the things, when it comes to VidCap, is that it is sometimes very challenging. We've done a lot of PD around, you don't actually get to see the scores of VidCap as far as the questions, but they do ask, VidCap does release the types of questions that they will ask. And we need to do a better job at West Rutland about looking at how those questions are asked and giving students the strategies to increase those skills.
taking the test, there is a science to taking these tests, just like those of you that had to endure the SATs and the ACTs. There's a science behind all of this, and we need to do a better job along with what we're doing within the curriculum. So,
Jay, can I just
Yeah.
to expand upon that, just understand what Jay's saying is, in these high stakes tests, there's what's called web depth of knowledge. There are 4 different types of questions that each question is assigned a different level. It's a level 1, a level 2, or a level 3. They don't ask level 4 because level 4 are more like a problem based or producing a product. So you have these 3 different levels, and what we are working with our admins on is, one, understanding where our deficiencies are in terms of, we may say that we're doing a really nice job with this learning indicator, but our kids are not scoring well, and that we take a look at our local assessments. So that teachers may be on, say, their formative summative assessments may be assessing at a level 1 or level 2 in Webb's depth of knowledge, but the question's being asked at a level 3 on the VidCap. And so what we're trying to have them understand is that if the VidCap is assessing at a level 3 or a level 2 or a level 1, then we also should be assessing at a level 3 or level 2 or level 1 over the course of the year, so we have a better understanding in terms of really where our kids are at and where they're not, because it's no different than I always use the example of when my daughter was first learning to add. I was still going stacked, 2 plus 2, one on top of the other. And then when she sat down, she did these side by side, she was getting them all wrong. I'm like, but it was just because it looked differently. Well, it's a similar type of thing with the Webb's depth of knowledge. We may have teachers who are assessing at a level 1 or level 2 or a level 3. And when it comes to the VidCap, it's being assessed at a different level. So we may feel that we have a different understanding in terms of where that growth is, but the VidCap is measured somewhere else. So we have to do a better job of aligning our local assessments with the VidCap, so we have a better understanding in terms of how we can adjust our curriculum, our lessons, our units throughout the course of the year. So if that makes sense.
How do they teach math now, roughly? Like you were saying, stack or whatever, how do they, like, 5th grade math? I mean, how do they?
It's conceptual now.
Yeah.
So we all learned it with algorithms and just you could memorize how to do it. Now it's all, the programming that we use is conceptual based math. So
But I will say that, the standard algorithm is provided, that
yeah, it's still taught, but it's
is
not.
presented, because you really want kids, especially in math, to learn the way that their mind understands it.
Oh, good, because that was a big
Yeah.
no years ago.
No, I mean, as long as you.
It was.
No, it was about 5 years ago,
We don't do
when we were
lattice
teaching them
and-
about, lattice and ballpark and all that, like,
Wow, they do it the right way.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, again, you
No,
choose what
exactly.
works for you.
That's what the kid.
No, but about 5 years ago
You have to
or so,
expose them to all of it.
we told them if they could just do it in their head, that wasn't good enough. They really
Correct.
needed to show you 3 different ways to do it, which,
Not like that. Not anymore.
Okay.
yeah,
It's gonna come back around.
Be pleased. I think folks, my generation and older would appreciate what the new programs that we're using
Now,
are.
who says what we use or don't use? Is that the state, or like how we teach math?
So,
we adopted Bridges.
yeah, we have adopted the Bridges program across our entire SU, which allows us to share common assessments. It allows us to actually be able to
Keep
dig
math
down
the
into the
right
data.
way.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
And that's work that they do on these in-service days, during professional development days, during their PLCs, or professional learning communities on Wednesday afternoons. That's the digging deep on this stuff. And by having those common programs, we're able to do that as an SU to increase. So, one notable, before we get to the VidCap, and I'll let the lines, or the Fast Bridge, because the line trends, you can see our improvement. One of the things that, back to VidCap, that we're working on at West Rutland, specifically this year, is rigor when it comes to reading and written material. And so I've been working on our literacy plan for both elementary but also secondary plan. And one of the emphasis that I am pushing this year is not only what we are having the students read and making sure that they can read it, making sure that we've got the skill set there, but also the rigor of what they are turning in written work. That needs to increase. Hands down, I'm enough in the classes that I can look at a science lab report, I can look at what's being turned in an English class or turned in a social studies classroom, and that needs to increase. So that is our number one focus at the secondary level, is that rigor. A lot of that, I've worked closely with both Jen and Joe, looking at how we can work together on increasing our scores as a whole. So Fast Bridge scores, the trend lines, again, they went up. And that was ELA, here's math. Our students do very well on this. And if we're looking at growth, and Chris talks about aggressive growth with all of our schools, we're showing aggressive growth. It's there, as measured 3 times a year by FastBridge. So it's not the end-all be-all assessment, but it's a very good assessment. It's what we've got, and we're able to really dig down with that information. So I want to emphasize that while we are presenting as individual schools, we are working collectively. I attend primary or elementary school meetings, I attend high school meetings. We're all trying to row in the same direction and learn from each other. So, we may be competitors on an athletic field, but we're not competitors in the classroom. We need to be able to work together, and that's a lot of the work that we have been doing. So that's my little soapbox for you. Again, I've seen a lot of things come, I've seen a lot of things go.
As have I.
As have you. But when I look at, and I need to look at with our students, our staff, and our community, are we seeing growth? Yeah, we are seeing growth. Okay, is it as fast as I wish? No, but we are making growth. Again, 15% in ELA, that's good over 3 years. I'm happy with that. 4% in math? No, I'm not happy with that. Okay.
But there's parental ownership of that too. And I think that's what our communities as a whole need to stop and recognize and understand and take ownership of also. It's not just the responsibility once they cross the marble threshold or the brick threshold of our buildings. There is parental and community responsibility for our students, for their comprehension, for their growth and that's happening in our communities. Yeah. You see that. You have, Polteny Library is very active in doing things and being involved. West Rutland, those are different, and you have lots of volunteers coming in, but also parents, and I know everybody's busy. I remember what it used to be to have little kids, but for our kids to be successful, we all have to hold hands and be partners for that ownership, so.
Also goes back a little bit to what Tom said, being practical in the understanding of what they're being taught and how can I teach my child that. And sometimes we get off into these other areas that make it very difficult for parents to be able to instruct their kids the way that they're being instructed at school to help them. So Tom's point was made that when we get back to practical, we can see an increase in a value.
Yeah, but I think like Kristen said, I'm sending home packets or things for, and they'd only have to be 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're quick little.
Something you can do, things we all used to do when you're making dinner and, you give it to them to keep them occupied and not bug you. But they don't realize that they're learning when they're learning, And eventually when they get in their 20s, they even tell you, oh yeah, I didn't realize you were a teacher. And they do. They don't think you're the worst thing now. But so I just think that's important because you hear a lot of negativity, I feel like, about when people see scores or if there's, something that's lower. But we all take ownership, the good and the bad, in my opinion.
Okay. Do you have more?
I was just going to finish up with some acronyms that are at the bottom there. UFLY, University of Florida Literacy Initiative, and Keys to Literacy, which is not a program, but a format for increasing writing across the board. All of the GRCSU schools are following these initiatives. Again, these are things that we're doing collectively as an SU with our professional development around that. So, and MTSS's multi-tiered system of support driven by the state. We've done a full rehab of that over the last 5 years of how we work with students both in the classroom and when they go to work with an interventionist. It's all data-driven, results-oriented, and I will say that's one of my I don't know, my babies, I guess, one of the things I really have spent an enormous amount of time with. So I'm quite proud of the work our SU has done over the last 5 years with that. That's in every one of our schools in the GRCSU. So I'm good. I can answer any questions or
Any
turn it over to
questions for-
Liz, and I think Jen might be next. But some of them, you are
I'm
next.
next.
Okay.
Dave, do you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Your name, please?
I'm Ashley Converse. I was wondering if there's any data specific for students that qualify for special education and how that looks compared to the rest.
So,
Yeah.
you want to answer it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Okay.
we do break down various demographics of students of special education, free reduced lunch, FSD. So, yeah, we do have that information. Do I have it on hand right now? No, but yeah, that is something we definitely do look at, and it's very much considered in how we change our instruction.
And that is looked at the school-based level, you know, every time we meet
Yeah.
about data. And you can also, it depends on what the number is, but you can find percentages online. But it depends on if your N is less than, what is it?
9. Is it 9?
Yeah.
12?
12, then it's, you can't find the
It's
information.
Our open architect system allows us to dive way deep.
There are many filters to it, too.
Yes, and it's very nice because we need it for our continuous improvement plan, which are then turned into the state. So those are things that we have to look at annually.
And that open architects is great, everything's in one, it's one-stop shopping. You used to have to try to find different, go into the FastBridge website, go to the state for the bit, and you're trying to find all this stuff, and then now it's boom, it's right there. And it's great, because you're not spending a half hour just trying to find the data. It's there, and then you can just go with it.
Is anyone able to speak offhand of if those scores are trending upward as well, or if they kind of follow what you're seeing?
I think in the context of recent reporting too, right, around
Yeah.
special education achievement, scores at the state level anyway, lagging right behind their typical peers.
Yeah, I don't have the information handy right now. I'd have to look.
Megan, when you submit your percentage increases or decreases to the state, is the population of students taken into consideration? Because if one out of 5 scores lower, your percentages are going to be really skewed.
Yeah, and you also look at the cohort itself.
Right.
As they go through, that's what I'm looking for growth, is the cohort. This last year's first graders are now second graders. What does that trend line for each one of those cohorts look like?
Cool.
That to me is what I'm looking at most importantly. Because I also want to look at, we can dig down deep enough to also look at how students are doing. Our schools are small enough that we can look at, okay, as a former AP teacher, I could actually look at every one of my scores and check the answers that the students had given on the AP exam. We don't get that with VitCap. I would love to know how my students actually answered on the VitCap scores, and we don't get those results. So,
We used to get
Yeah.
a kneecap.
yeah, we used to get it with VitCap, one of the other assessments we used to get. But, we look at those cohort data. That's a big trend.
So we talked about,
Megan, were you asking about the states? Does the state take that into consideration? or-
Yeah, do you guys write some kind of summary,
No, so our scores just go to the state, and the state basically provides a
Oh.
percentage, so therefore, right, so if in a smaller cohort, has a greater impact, so we, like a 40% may look a little bit different than in a smaller school as opposed to a much larger school, so there's no weighted formula for that.
That's a bummer.
Just make sure you.
I would also say that the state does publish equity indicators, that if any of your marginalized groups are lower than your non-marginalized groups, they produce that is available on the AOE's website, and you do get tagged if that happens over a few years as an equity 1 or an equity 2 group, and so if you're interested in that, that is available on the state's website.
Annual
Is that-
snapshot.
Is that from some of the more recent, the EQS stuff, or do you know if those data are available going back a little bit?
I think they have published all of the schools. There is a report that shows whether schools have gone up and the way they're trending and where they are. I'd have to just kind of dig into my files to find where that is, but it is available based on
Yeah.
the state assessment.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for sharing that.
Liz?
Yeah. So again, like Joe, there's no sugarcoating it. We are not trending upward in ELA or math and VIT-CAP. We, like Chris had mentioned, had started to work on depth of knowledge. We did some PD around that this past year with teachers. And, I had said last year we were going to make 10% growth, then that did not happen. So, it is disappointing to see this snapshot of what our kids are able to do at Proctor. So taking this and writing our continuous improvement plan for this upcoming year, and peeling back the layers when you're looking at the individual student assessments or the cohort assessments, really being able to find out that this upcoming year, we have to take it all the way back to basics. Like our students need to be reading fluently before they can even begin to process the information that's in front of them. They need to have fact fluency before they can sit down in front of a computer and, answer these higher level thinking questions where they're still struggling to process what's being asked. And then looking at the writing piece in our continuous improvement plan as well, even this year reviewing bits and pieces of things, it just keeps popping up, the conventions of writing. So, and speaking with the staff and my interventionists and other folks around, just looking forward into this year, bringing us back to a place of a baseline to then be able to watch the growth happen more consistently, saying that we've all done this. This is where we're all starting. We have been part of Keys to Literacy. Our school has actually finished the training, so next Friday we're going to take the next step with Rutland Town and take it further. And another piece that we're going to be working on is taking those assessments from our Bridges and our Bridges assessments and looking at the depth of knowledge that the program already provides you an assessment with, instead of trying to create our own for literacy or for writing. We're going to start with something that's solid that we can build off of. And our Fast Bridge looks great in comparison to, the VIT-CAP. So again, looking at ELA and math. Math, since I've been in the building, since 2022, has been more of the struggle as we've gone through. I don't think it was mentioned earlier, but when we give the FastBridge assessments to kindergarten and first grade, those are done one-to-one, so I just didn't want people to think we're putting kindergartners and first graders on computers. They don't see the computer-based test until second grade. And again, it is typical to see students do better in the winter. They've been in school, they've been instruction. Who knows why the spring always looks like what it does. But those are kind of the core pieces of that. Third grade this past year, and actually consistently since they've been in the building, had a very large percentage of students who are at or above grade level. Our kindergarten this year too, out of a handful, there's only a handful of students that were not at grade level. Most of them were at and beyond. So there are some really big highlights that, I'm looking forward to watching. What did those kids come in? What was the parent connections partnerships? What are we offering our kids? And what professional development do the staff need for students who are already at or above grade level? Because we don't want them to just stay. We want them to continue to grow. So those are the pieces that I'm going to keep my eye on this year. And then working with the Cliff Grant, we have the opportunity to build in some additional professional development in writing just through our Wednesday time with them. Trying to really emphasize the joy of learning, the why we're here, and really bolstering that universal layer of instruction so that teachers feel like they can hook the kids and keep the kids in what's going on, to see all of these pieces just go. So I'm actually really excited, even looking at this data that is abysmal at best in some of these slides for Proctor, just knowing that the staff is still there, coming back, wants to do right by the kids, and that the kids are going to be here in a few weeks. I'm just really ready to kick it off and get going on that. So hopefully sitting here this time next year will look different.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Any questions for Liz? The only question I have is, might be worthy to inquire of those parents of those kindergartners of what they did to prepare their kids, so that maybe we could pass that along, or?
Yep, a majority of them actually came from our preschool. So that's always nice to know. But that's about half and half this upcoming year. And then actually our current third grade, it's a little less than half that actually came from us. So those are great cohorts to inquire with.
Good deal.
Good suggestion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jen?
Oh, yes, I get to talk about Proctor High School. How exciting. So in ELA, we are well above the state average at 69% proficiency, and I believe that will continue to grow. I'm never happy at that. I want to be at 100, and so those are the reasons I have the dark circles under my eyes, deciding what to do next with the students and staff. We are also able to grow our math VCAP proficiency above state average to 42%, and we heavily rely on our literacy and math plans that were included in my report. We do unpack the VCAP. We do administer like sample questions in class quite a bit, and my teachers are constantly reviewing that and looking at our scope and sequence to make sure that kids are getting what they need before the test. My fast bridge results, you can see that year over year we have an upward trend line, and then each year you'll notice that from fall to spring we are able to grow our students in both literacy and math. And so I think Pat asked the question, like, what do we need all this time for? Like, I need the time with my teachers to go over these things, to talk about what are research-based literacy and math practices that they can integrate. They need time to practice. We do shares as a whole group. My whole faculty is responsible for reading and writing across the curriculum. We all own that. We all own this data, even math. We have a Math for All plan where all of my teachers are, whether you're teaching social studies or PE or science, you're all teaching math and you're all highlighting math in different areas. And so I think that has really paid out for us because it isn't a couple of teachers that own this in my building, it's everyone that owns this, and we look at the data and really use time to review and refine our curriculum. We encourage our community to be literate. Research shows that daily reading for fun, so that's not when I force a kid to read, but when you're doing it independently for fun for 15 to 20 minutes a day, improves these scores. We have common writing assessments that we analyze during the time when we have PD. We decide on what we need to do as a whole school. We decide on what we need to do 7 through 12 to elevate vocabulary, to elevate where kids are at with their fluency. And so a lot of that time is looking at those things, and then we use all of that to make our continuous improvement plan, our SIP for the next year, on where we ended up each year. And so our faculty does that all together, and we engage our community in that work as well. Any questions?
Any questions for Jen? No, very good.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Okay, so going to my part of this. So looking at what the individual buildings did, about now looking at the SU version of this. So what is the purpose of our professional learning time? Basically to improve teacher effectiveness and directly boost student learning achievement. So how's that achieved? One big thing and big push for me this year, I was talking to Jay about it earlier today, is analyzing student performance data. So taking a look at something I'm going to mention here in a couple minutes, common assessments, looking at that data, and really making educational instructional decisions based off of that data. Second thing here is, from those data points, refining our curriculum, refining our instruction to meet our students' needs. Collaborative problem solving, we have to do this together. Each building can't act in a silo. We have to do this together, use that in-service time, our half-day time for our teachers to come together across buildings to plan instruction, plan assessments, and make sure that we're holding our kids to the same standards. And then fostering consistency. It's a huge thing for me. We have multiple buildings within our SU and also within this school district. We want to make sure our buildings are doing things on a consistent level and making sure that our teachers are working together to best meet our students' needs. So we have 3 large buckets in our achievement trends. First one you already first 2 you already heard about. VidCap, it's assessed 1 time a year. Okay, assessed in March. Our Fast Bridge tests are assessed 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. Now, what we're using a lot of our professional development time we've used in this past spring, and now for coming into this school year, is what I have a huge passion for, and that's common formative assessments. Those are assessed monthly. And these assessments that the teachers are working on during our professional development time are all aligned to VidCap, as Chris mentioned before, making sure that those assessments are aligned to VidCap depth of knowledge, make sure we're attaching the same level of rigor to the assessments to match what is asked of them in VidCap and in FastBridge. Okay, so what common formative assessments are? They're quick formative assessments given in every grade and content area monthly to gauge student understanding. So again, these teachers are working on these assessments. They're not so much taking or building in new assessments, they're taking what they already do, refining them, and making sure that they're being analyzed on a consistent level. So
that's another big part of that is after they give the assessment, what do you do with it? You know, do you change your instruction based off of student needs? Yes. Okay, so what those assessments are telling us, we need to make some changes. And that's what our professional learning communities are doing, are going to be expected to do this year monthly. So they're going to give the assessment, they're going to meet together as a group, and then there's a whole data analysis procedure that's going to be put in place, that's again talking with Jay about earlier today, that's going to make teachers look at the various proficiency levels, 4 through 1, and who did well, what we need to work on, and what's the plan. So that's going to be a large portion of our teachers' professional development time this year. Again, looking at our in-service coming up next Friday, we already have about 3.5, 4 hours to work on this information, granted broken up in different sections, but still a large part of our time is going to be teachers working together to work on these common formative assessments. Okay, so are we seeing a return on investment on our professional development? You know, what has improved? Our literacy instruction has improved. We're increasing implementation of evidence-based practices, so that taking a look at our programs. Are they evidence-based? Are we implementing them with fidelity? Are we actually looking at how students are doing with them? Strong intervention systems. The more data we have, the more information we have to specifically target students in their education and what they need, what their deficiencies are, and how can we bring those up. Okay. We have seen improved benchmark growth in several grades. You saw that from the data that was presented by all of our principals here just a little bit ago. And then my big thing here is teacher collaboration around student data. We can make a lot of decisions just qualitatively, but when we look at the quantitative data, that is how we can best inform our instruction. Okay, what has not improved? So the state proficiency still remains below what we expect from our district. As we talked about cohorts there a little bit ago, growth is seen in uneven across grade levels. So looking at cohorts, looking at grade 1 last year to 2 this year to 3 next year, how are students progressing? We do see ebbs and flows in different grades. And that's we need to look at basically what the assessments look like, what the instruction looks like, and then make decisions based off of that. Because again, every teacher does their craft a little differently, and that's their craft. But we want to make sure we're looking at that data so we can make the most best informed decisions. And then some student groups, as we talked about, different cohorts underperform in some areas. Again, those are categories we need to look at and make plans for, and make that going back to targeted intervention. So what are we changing? Increased instructional walkthroughs. That's me, our admins. We do once a month. We get together, we go into classrooms, and we look at how teachers are teaching. How are the kids receiving the instruction, and then making some instructional changes off of that. More targeted coaching. That's us looking at how we can best support our teachers in the classroom. What do they need to grow in? What do they want to grow in? And how do we make those plans? So clear implementation expectations. So that goes to my part of consistency. Is our expectation, my expectation with the common formative assessments, that they are done monthly and they are analyzed monthly for that data, so we can then make those educational instructional decisions and changes. More frequent progress monitoring. That's again going back and looking at data. Big part of it is looking at student data and then making changes. And then building specific action plans. So again, I talked a lot to Jay today.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. We had a long conversation. And we are looking to our building admins to really talk this lingo, live it, and then make sure it's happening in the buildings, and making sure they're working with teachers through this, these data discussions, if you will, to make sure they're happening and we're making changes to best meet our student needs. I know I threw a lot at you there. Do you have any questions at all?
Any questions for Tyler?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Megan.
Megan Old.
Yep.
As you go through student data and you identify students who are performing below the curve, what are you doing for the students that are performing above the curve? Are there any programs for them?
Programming, I mean, not specific programs, but yes, during students win block, what I need, enrichments, activities are given to students. Again, also looking at student achievement, we never want kids to plateau, so there's always that ability to push more. And the one big thing we're looking at is, especially at the higher level of grades, how do you is what I'm looking for. Sorry, completely just blanked. How do you apply what you learned? So, you're looking at, sure, if I can regurgitate it back to you, do you know it? You memorized it, but how do you apply that information? So that application piece is really big for us.
So what would you do, like, if a student on VidCap scored 97% accuracy in the nation? Would you say, hey, this student's really great at reading, they're in your class, you should push them to do a higher grade level curriculum? Or how would that?
Go ahead.
I can tell you some things we've done. It's kind of like grade sharing. If there's a second grader, say, that comes in and they're on a fourth grade level in math, we work it out and they would go spend some time in another classroom, so they'd still be with their home people, but they would go to get that exposure to the higher level curriculum. We've done that.
Is that going to be like a common thing amongst the union, the other schools? Or?
I mean, that is a
Yeah.
common thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, best practice.
I will say that at Proctor, we have an ability for kids to take like an honors level track, and those kids can do independent projects and they meet with their teachers above and beyond what's in the curriculum. And the secondary admin team have been talking about moving that practice out. I will say that we see that the social emotional side of kids that are advanced often suffers when we advance them grade levels, because you're taking a kid that at 14 is really advanced, but then you're graduating and getting them into a class where they might be then into the world where they're 17. And so it sometimes isn't a great idea to advance them all the way, but we do have ways and a policy available that you can review about grade advancement.
Megan, I'll add, we talk a lot about quality of instruction. We know that the single greatest factor really is the quality of the classroom teacher. That's the biggest program, decide, whatever. It's the individuals in front of these students. And we focus a lot on instruction, but there's the instructional floor, but there's also the instructional ceiling. And one of the things you referenced is a lot of times, and someone who is year 34, year 35 across 3 different states, a lot of times what happens in situations where a lot of our emphasis is on students who are below proficiency, or so we're trying to get these kids to a certain point, and the kids who are doing well, they'll just do extra work, go sit over there. And so what we have to do is we have to really look at how do our admins really work with these classroom teachers to work towards what's called the instructional ceiling, so that they really can provide like a classroom instruction or a lesson that meets all needs, not just the higher end kids are doing more work, or they're doing just work in a corner, or Mike and Sarah, you guys go work independently over there. That's not what we're trying to do. So we really have to make sure that our teachers are equipped to handle the learners in all classrooms. So therefore, if we do have individuals who need that, the instructional ceiling, that they have the tools, the pedagogy, the skills to work with those kids, as well as the students that may be below proficiency who are struggling as well. And that is our goal through instructional leadership, is to work with them. But it's not just about a program or additional work or things along those lines. It really is making sure our classroom teachers are better equipped that when they're designing lessons, that the lessons meet the needs of every single one of the kids in the classroom.
Pat?
I have,
Pat?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just looking at kids in the classroom, many times a student will come in and just totally take over the classroom, or sit in the corner and die and think, just leave me alone. And then you get the report card, and they get a 1, because they choose not to participate, but their work is in, they're there every day. It just seems counterproductive. You're penalizing the student for not being comfortable in that class and not participating.
Well, Pat, in that situation, we do have the grade, we also have habits of work. So technically, that really shouldn't be occurring. That if a student is doing the work, but they're just sitting there, the habits of work should be reflective of their work ethic, but their score should reflect more where they're at academically. So if that's a situation, please have that parent reach out to the building administrator or myself, because that should not be happening in that classroom. Because that's one of the, with proficiency-based learning in grading, you do separate these two, where there's the behavior, then there's the learning part, and they're two separate entities. They're not lumped in like the 100-point scale used to be, where a student comes in and puts their head down, and it doesn't matter if they get 100 on the test, or take out 20 points because you talked during the test. So, we're moving away from that punitive aspect of.
No, I just couldn't understand. The work is there and it's in and it's okay, and you're not acting up, but you get a 1.
Yeah, that should not be happening.
It just is counterproductive to me, and I
Yeah,
wasn't
the
sure.
one
how
maybe
it
on habits of work, but you're right, if that's the case, then that should not be occurring. That's something which that parent or, the child should definitely be reaching out to the building administrator, to myself, to Tyler, Lisa, to.
Right.
Better understand.
Right, and that goes back to, like I said, the quality of the classroom teachers, having them better understanding where, there's not that punitive aspect. There are some kids who will come in who maybe are introverted, will say, just let me do the work, and can demonstrate mastery or proficiency in an area, but it looks a little bit different than what another kid can do. And that's one of the benefits of proficiency-based learning,
Right.
is that we should be taking individual styles and their approaches into consideration.
Well, in some cases, parents have come forward and asked me, of course, I'm from a different era where we didn't have 1, 2, 3, 4, we had real life grades. And,
1, 2, 3, 4 is a real life grade, it's just, it's
oh, I know it
different, so,
is,
yeah.
but it was easier when we had to do
Right.
the numbers. And, the student comes in, doesn't participate, work is in. Because they didn't participate, they then got moved to a lower class where students have more needs. And the parent was questioning, is that punitive? My answer was, go see the teacher. I mean,
Yeah,
that's where you need to go.
Yeah,
There's
teacher
a chain of
administrator.
command, that's what you need
Yeah,
to do.
definitely.
Correct.
Yep,
But
yep.
I just wasn't sure how it worked.
Right.
Well,
Sarah?
parents have to advocate for your child, whether
Absolutely.
they're below, medium, or above. And that's the responsibility, to advocate to the appropriate individual, whether it's the building admin or the classroom teacher. And unfortunately, I think social media makes it easy for people not to advocate in the right place for their children.
Especially if they have not had a good educational experience coming up.
That's
Sure.
true, that's true.
Advocating on a Facebook parent group is, that's not advocating, that's complaining, but actually coming in and speaking with the classroom teacher, building administrator,
Help me
that's.
understand.
And I think, I've always said this, I've worked in a variety of settings, inner city, suburban settings, and it's just, the difference is advocacy. And I think, we need more parents to come in and hold teachers, buildings accountable for their kids' learning. Because, and asking questions about what's going on, what's occurring, because that's how we continue to raise
Yeah,
expectations.
the first time it happens, not
Correct.
3 months later.
Correct.
Yes.
But you gotta watch out for retaliation also. That does happen.
It
Well,
does.
and-
And it-
Not a lot, but
And
it,
you
people like to
advocate
think it
just a little
doesn't, but
harder
it
then, I
does,
guess.
so.
I think Sarah had a question.
Oh, it was just a comment
Oh.
to say that I have a rising 8th grader at Proctor who has experienced that in a class where, performing, where the teacher was able to make space for her and a few other students who were performing a little above level to explore what it might look like to push, right? And it was just made space within the classroom, as well as a little bit of a curricular opportunity this coming year. So, yeah, just to say, it happens.
Yeah, differentiation goes both ways.
Flexibility in our school size.
And just one last thing to this presentation, if you want, I included it on a slide here, but you don't have the presentation, but you can take practice tests. So if you'd like, I can have that link forwarded to you. So you can look at the various practice tests that we give to our kids.
Tyler, this is in your board resource
Oh, it is?
folder. I
Okay.
dropped the presentation, so.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so if you want to click on that link, that'll take you to the VCAP practice test. You can take them at all different grade levels, and math, ELA, and science.
Is it anonymous or?
Like, we all had to sit down and do this together this
Yeah,
year.
we did it.
Show the
On the phone.
I feel sorry for the ones who got 5th grade.
Yes. So yes, I mean, if you, it is anonymous if you want to do it, and you can take a test and see what,
So even that would be available to a parent?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Very good.
Yep. In my previous district, we went into executive session and gave the 3rd grade kneecap test to the board at that district. And it was
Hilarious.
very eye-opening for the board members to see what a 3rd grader was being tested on. Yes, it was very, very eye-opening. So Yeah.
Any other questions on this topic? No? Okay, thank you, Ty. Thank you, teachers, administrators, and we hope to see the work go forward. My question would be, is there anything the board can do to help you, especially those who are not happy with the way their trends are? Is there something that we can help you with?
I would just ask a board as, you have parents who routinely speak with you, whether it be, the store, just in your regular, just direct them back to classroom teachers, too, because I think the advocacy is very important.
Yep, absolutely.
And, so just.
Your doors are open to that.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Next topic, student handbooks.
So there's really no formal action needs to be taken, just as more in terms of we've placed a copy of the student handbooks in the board review. Just if there are any questions, we're happy to address or talk to these at this time.
Okay.
I thought the coaching handbook looked really good. I did think there was an odd line in there about you had to wear Quarry Valley gear or something. I think it probably should have been a little. I understand what you're saying, but what it said was essentially if you weren't wearing Quarry Valley-esque shirts, that a Quarry Valley shirt, that you would be in violation of the dress code. And I think what it meant to say was if you weren't wearing the appropriate school, i.e. Quarry Valley, like you shouldn't show up in a different school or something. If I'm coaching at West Rutland, I should have green and gold and something with the cord on.
Not Dartmouth or
Yeah,
Middlebury?
but it says that the line says Quarry Valley. So I just thought that was, but I thought I like the essence of it. I like that we have a collective book that way. And yeah, I think just having that as a starting point, I'm sure after this year, there's probably a couple things in there that I would come back with, but I think it's a good starting point.
That's online?
Do you have a question online?
It's in our folders.
Yeah, it's in your drive. Do you have a question online? No? Okay. All right.
Good coaches.
Yeah.
Any more comments?
Address a lot of,
Yeah, I think it does.
and who enforces that?
The ADs and the
ADs and
principals.
principals.
Yeah.
Next item of business is appointment of two possible,
It's the landowner agreement?
oh, landowner, that's right. I was looking down, okay, landowner agreement, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back to that.
Okay, who wants to present this?
Since you want to talk about, since you were on the
Our
call.
presenter
Sure,
design.
so, this is actually for Polteny Elementary School. It seems like this has been going on forever and a day.
We don't pass that.
I have spent more time with the attorney about this and know more about the trail in Polteny now than I probably ever needed to know. We did have a call and went through and cleaned up a lot of things that I think when Eric was here, he and I had talked and gone over some things that we thought were problematic. And just talk through so that the items that we have are, it's essentially just protecting us.
Would you reference a page and paragraph, Lisa, so if?
I don't have any
Okay,
issues.
all
I've
right.
read this so many times that
Okay.
I'm at the point now that you don't want me, I can probably, even though we think memorization and road are bad things, that's about where I'm at with the landowner agreement. So I would recommend moving forward. I don't know, I'm guessing next step is give it to the organization to review, or have they reviewed
So
it?
we would go back to Mick Letty, who works with Chris Leopold's firm,
Yeah,
who deals specifically with these types of contracts. And then he would then coordinate with the Vermont Bike Association, or the Slate Valley Trails, I'm sorry. And then with their attorney or their representation, and then once both parties agree to it, then we come back for
First and second
signatures.
vote?
yeah.
Because this is,
So I guess I would just recommend if after we send it to them and they come back with issues, if there are concerns in there, that you allow Chris and I then to meet with our attorney again, because we've been the constant dealing with this.
I would encourage
And
that.
changes that we've made or things we've done have been on the with the attorney, and it's been about protecting landowners' rights.
It'll still have to come back to this board for ratification, so.
Absolutely.
let's
But
let-
once it
let's
goes to
let-
Slate Valley and they review it with their attorney, they may come back and not like, we have changed a multitude of things. So if they come back and have concerns about that, I would just ask that it be allowed to come back to Chris and myself and the attorney, and or to allow us to review it with our attorney, any possible changes before it comes back here as a final.
I'd move that to be the case without objection. Okay, thank you. And that may take another month or two before that process takes
Yeah.
place, so it's ongoing.
Been a while.
It's ongoing. Very good. Thank you, Lisa, for your effort on that, and Chris, and to our attorney staff there. All right. Board members, we have, I believe, a couple of candidates here tonight that have expressed interest. Several, 3, 2, 1. So what we'd like to do is, we'd like to have you introduce yourself.
Mike, before, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Go
but I
ahead.
just want to clarify just how it's worded on the agenda, that there are 2 seats. So one seat, they'll obviously, we have 2 seats, they'll both will serve through March, but then both will have to then, run through the election. The first seat, though, will have 1 year, after, in March. So the March election will have 1 year remaining.
From March.
The second seat will have 2 years.
Right.
So both will go up until March, but then in March, the election one will be a 1 year, and then the second one will be a 2 year. Does that make sense to everybody? So we just we have to make sure that whichever 2 we appoint, we have to appoint one to the seat number 1 and one to seat number 2, and understanding what the length of the terms are.
Right. And also, the candidates will need to understand what the process is to get your name on the ballot. There's definitely a process if you haven't done that before. Your clerk will be happy to share that with you. And there are some requirements, and there are also some timeframes that you need to file that, so we'll go from there. So I guess we'll start with who would like to start? How about that? We'll give you that, see how bold you are right now. Who would like to start? Okay, please, your name?
Ashley Converse.
Ashley, okay, Ashley. Where are you from, Ashley?
I am from Poultney.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a mom of a recent Poultney High School graduate and a almost 5th grader, so that's exciting. I'm also a resident of Poultney since I was 9 years old, graduated from Poultney High School, and even for a while I worked at Poultney High School as a para-educator. And I kind of worked my way up, went back to school, and now I'm the Director of Student Support Services for the Vermont Department of Corrections. So a lot of experience with education, on the education track as well. And it's kind of like really close to my heart to work with students with special education, make sure that people have what they need, and to kind of put an end to the school to prison pipeline, and this way I can be on the other side if I were to get on the board.
So what is your desire to be on the board?
What
What is your desire
Yes, my desire is to be on
on the board?
the board.
All right. Anything else, Ashley?
That's it, thank you.
No? Okay, all right. So, Megan, are you next or you last?
He was here before me, so.
My name is Matthew Dingman.
Say that again, please, so I can hear it.
My name is Matthew Dingman.
Okay, that.
I live in Poultney. I've been a resident for about 3 years with my wife. She graduated from Fairhaven. I'm a transplant from New York. We have 2 kids, a stepdaughter who's going into 7th grade in Poultney, and a 2-year-old son who's hopefully will go up through Poultney Elementary School and on through. And I currently work in the apprentice program at GE up here in Rutland, and I'm in my 2nd year doing that, so I have a lot of schooling myself that I have to go through Castleton University, and I'm trying to take extra classes on the side to finish up my bachelor's degree as well, so. And figured try to join the board to just help the community and see what I can do to help my kids.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Matt. Megan?
Hello, my name is Megan Ohl. I'm a Pulteney resident. I've lived there for maybe like 14 years, I think, something like that. I have 3 kids in Pulteney Elementary School, which we love, great school. In terms of my experience in education, I went to school, that's as much as I know. But I am a licensed project management professional, and I do work for a large company.
You're licensed what?
Project management
Okay.
professional. So I have a lot of experience, coordinating things and asking the right questions, making sure things get done the way they should be. So I think I can really bring that to the board if anybody needs help with that. And I really have a vested interest in the success of our union. So, yeah, nice meeting you all.
Okay, all right. So at this time, what I would propose to do is to table these members or these applicants for a month to allow the board members to get in contact with, and to be, also note that I don't know if we've published this out yet, so this may be the first time that the public knows about these vacancies, so we want to make sure that they have an opportunity. So if I could get a motion to table till next month, I'd appreciate that. Pat? Okay. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'll be in, as they all say, we'll be in touch, okay? All right, and would you make your maybe email and phone number available to members who may be?
We have it, Christine McGinnis.
Okay,
will-
okay,
will share it
all right,
available.
okay. So we'll let you know. How's that? Okay,
Sounds
thank
like
you.
a plan.
You can stay and see what happens, which is probably a good thing if you want to be on the board, or you can leave, it's up to you, okay. Let's see. Merger committee appointment. This is a big one here. We've talked about this to some degree, merger, for a couple of years. We're now in a position where the state is mandating a conversation again about the possibility of mergers there. So I believe that, I don't know how many Slate Valley is appointed? Do we know what the number is to that?
For Slate Valley?
Yeah, how many?
No, so right now, all that we know is that each district has to appoint one representative. I know that the state is currently trying to figure out equal representation, what that may look like, but by statute, by September 15th, this board has to appoint one member. Now, we may find out between now and then that we may get additional members. We don't know because according to statute, like as Mike said, Slate Valley will have one representative, which would be the same amount of representation as, say, Rutland Town, who is one school, one town. But Slate Valley is a larger supervisory district, and so there were a lot of conversations about how do they increase representation, but then they started to see that they could have committees up to 100 voting members, which that's just insane. It would not work, so we don't know. So by statute, this board just has to appoint one, and then if we receive more information, then we can look at increase in the amount of participation. That would come back to the board for that decision. But so, and just to note that this board does meet again prior to September 15th. So if the board would like to have time to think about that, we could come back in September 10th, and then vote at that time as well, which we may have more information as well about voting members as well. Just putting it out there for the board, not to.
I would suggest doing that.
Agreed.
What is that, Lisa?
I would suggest waiting till the
Yes.
September.
Is there any disagreement on waiting for a month? Consider what member we would like to appoint to that board, and maybe by that time we'd have more information as to how to proceed. Is there any? Okay, so we'll.
When does that board meet? Have they figured
They
that out?
don't.
Their board,
So
they
it
don't
has to meet
meet.
in October, but then once the
Legis-
board is established, then they will talk about the frequency of meetings, the time of meetings.
They'll do it like,
Are you talking about the 15th, Tom? Is that the date that you were talking about, the September 15th? Because that was
I think
our-
he's just asking,
Okay.
they're gonna be able to do it where working people can do it, not like at 10 in the morning
Yeah,
or.
yeah.
Correct, and I think that these boards are comprised solely of board members, so I think you'll see more evening meetings than you would, say, most of the CISA almost every CISA board is comprised of superintendents. And it's being held.
That won't be
right.
decided until that board's first.
Correct,
meeting.
it meets and discusses. And I'll just say from the CISA that we're only required to meet 4 times a year, but we decided that we were going to meet on a monthly basis just because of the work that needs to be done.
Right.
And I would assume that the merger committees, particularly, you're on a much more aggressive timeline than CISAs are, because by the fall of next year, there has to be a report ready to go. So you're on a more truncated timeline than the CISA is, so.
How long, like you were talking, we have to maybe give money to this new person gonna run everything and a new committee or whatever. How long is that gonna be in place, or do we know that yet?
Well, right now, it's statutes law, so until they decide otherwise.
If the legislature passes
Yeah.
a different law,
Yeah,
that's it.
So,
Legislative.
Tom, I think I think really the concern is always the first year, because I think if you look at, in theory, that the cost of, say, an executive director could be offset by other reduced savings throughout, say, shared services. So if, like, say, we went to, like, a much larger business structure, like a financial model within our region, and there's some consolidation there of services, or, through special education, there would be reduced costs, so that cost would then pay for that position as well as provide savings back to districts. But the issue that we found is, right now, when we're not in a position where, particularly around budgeting, to make those cuts, we're looking at right now just cost. And so we're looking at, do we find somebody for that $50,000 budget just for this year? So I think that's just, that's the conversation we're still trying to have, is, because, and I said this at the meeting, I don't believe our goal is, I can't come back to our board and say, well, we need more money, particularly when we don't have a vision, we don't have a planned approach, so we're not just trying, it was not intended to be just another thing we're gonna do, like, great, here's another unfunded mandate that now we have to fund. That's not what the purpose of this was. Merger committee is a little bit different, as the conversations really would be around, what does this look like, and, just, more regionally, so, and I do know that there have been discussions at the Wellsprings Board about whether or not they want to join with the rest of the GRCSU, or whether to stay, so that there may be some shifting and moving of merger committees as well, so.
Is there a timeline when they have to say, coming with us, or they're jumping ship?
We don't know that yet, so, yeah.
A lot of unknowns.
Then,
A lot of unknowns.
This new board that's happening, do we have say they're doing something and they need an extra, however much money?
Are we talking about CISA? or what?
Yeah, this big board, can we say no, or we don't get a
So
say?
that's the question too, is the CISA, and I brought this up, that we're a service. We're not an independent board, and so when, we can't make this financial decisions independent of our own boards, and so therefore, we have to come back to the boards and discuss financial implications of decision-making, what that looks like, and that's eventually what the executive directors should be doing and helping, navigate those conversations, but.
But legislation mandates us to be a member of the board.
Right.
So the whole fiscal component
Correct.
is a little
Shady,
murky.
Correct.
Because it becomes a taxing district because it's mandated and we're mandated to be. And back to Tom's question about savings, or your comment about savings, not to be the negative Nelly, but I see a little bit of it, kind of like Act 46 around the savings. Remember how we were gonna save, and remember the propaganda tour when they came from up north, and they saved $2 million when they merged. One time when they merged. So you may move everyone to this new entity, but you're only saving that
It is a one-time savings.
one time. And as we even saw here, those savings you had the first year didn't stay at that level. We have added staff at the SU level. So I do think you have to take a little bit of what they say about savings with a pretty big grain of salt, in my opinion.
So you have the CISA and you have the merger committee, sort of two different things.
Well, the merger committee is something that, I would just say, from our perspective, it has to be someone that is attuned to what we want and will attend every meeting, because you can't afford to not be present at the table. They are going to write a report, they are going to realign and do things, and if we are not at the table and vocal, you will become somebody else's pony.
That's what you said about advocacy.
Doing that now, aren't we?
What?
We kind of don't have some say now with GRCSU.
Well, well, I see what you're saying, but this is more at the state level.
I get it, but I'm just.
So I'm just saying, yeah.
Will we
Well,
have
I
a-
don't know, and I think that conversation did, in some respects, come up at the SU board about if a district isn't going to move with us, even in merger study, how much are they moving with us in terms of the SU? How in tune are you with us?
They're in tune with their wallet.
Well, I'm just saying that was a conversation, but I do think that with respect to the merger, they're going to write a report. Now, who knows what the legislature's gonna look like, or if they're going to repeal it, but just like with the CISA, as Chris said, it's gonna be on the books until somebody else under the Golden Dome says it's no longer, or they put the Kool-Aid down and say, oh, this maybe wasn't the smartest thing, another unfunded mandate that we want to stand up here and stand on the soapbox and scream about how high property tax are and how much money they're spending, but we've just spit another unfunded mandate at them.
That's what I was trying to ask, like, is Quarry Valley gonna have a little bit of say, or are they gonna, GRCSU gonna have the say on what we spend?
For the CISA.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this is a discussion that ought to be had in all local districts.
And I know this is all new.
You know,
and
right, and I think it's.
You'll have a say.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. I
Quarry
mean,
Valley.
Yes.
So every board will have input and say in terms of what's going on, yes.
That's why, in consideration of who we want to appoint to that, we need to think about those issues.
Well, that's merger, we're talking about
Right,
CISA.
yeah.
We're in two different.
Yep.
Yes, yes,
And
it will
two
not be
different
just
pins
an
at the moment.
SU.
Yeah.
I mean, there will be, items will be brought, by law, you have to bring back a report back to the SU, but that same report will be back to all the local boards, and we'll have conversations with each local board about what this looks like, the implications of the decision-making, the financial costs, what sort of services or benefits that this could provide, and that will then be brought back
And
to.
Quarry Valley, it'll be brought to this board.
Yes, it should be, because let's say
Yes.
CISA assesses us and says we have to pay $100,000 to be a member. We're gonna pay the bulk of that $100,000. Because
I get it.
if you're assessed via the SU.
Correct.
So
You'll have a say.
that should come back to each
Yes.
individual district
Yes.
board to have a conversation.
So I would table this until next month. Think about which board member you'd like to be.
And hope we have more information.
Yep. So that'll be on.
And I do know Slate Valley appointed 2 members to the merger study, knowing they had a vote, but they appointed 2 people.
Right. And it will be a public meeting, so anybody can attend, too. It's just, it's who has a vote.
Who has the right to vote.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to figure out, who has.
So we
a
could
say.
all show up, right?
Correct.
So that'll be on our agenda for next month. Think about who you'd like to appoint for that. We'll move forward at that point in time. Any more discussion on that? Okay. F28, student use of cell phones, first read. Anybody read that?
Yep.
I did. Any discussion on that? Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve for the first read.
First read. Lisa's made a motion to accept that as a first read. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. We need to do a roll call?
It's okay.
You can object, it's okay.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
all right, you
That's
can
all right.
object.
There you go.
Well, I mean,
I can be a number, it's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll do a quick roll call. Lisa? Yes?
yes.
Yes, okay, Lisa. Tom?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there something in there you don't like, or?
This is it's an AOE, right, model policy, has to go forward, so it would
Principal?
take more time than, the research doesn't support, it's a whole big thing, it would take
I'm
more
with you.
time. I just want to be on the record because I know because I have, that's all.
Oh,
By law, this policy is already in place.
By law, the policy's already in place.
State mandated,
This is a conscientious objection.
We're obligated
Kinda like
to,
burning your draft card.
Yeah, that's
Like burning
right.
your draft
the
card.
legislature passed it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with disagreeing,
No.
that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah.
Tom,
Yeah, sure,
yes or no?
yes.
Yes, okay, okay.
We're already,
Okay, Lauren? Lauren's a no. Pat? Yes, okay. Sarah?
No.
Okay. All right. Passes, or sustained 3-2. All right.
4-2.
Chair doesn't have to vote.
No, but
But you usually get with the majority, so technically it's 4-2. Yes, okay. All right, first read. We'll read it again next month, so.
Yep.
Look it up and read it. You can change
Do
your
it all
mind.
over again.
You can change your mind, absolutely.
Fat chance.
Yeah, it's still legislatively mandated, so,
Exactly,
okay,
exactly.
all right. Finance, we don't see Lewis here. Is there anything that needs to be brought up based
we
on?
have in our resource folder,
Yes, there is.
the surplus
Okay.
conversation.
Yes, there is. Did you want to start that?
I need to find it, sorry.
While Lisa's looking at,
District, what is it under budget tax?
It's titled 2026-8 quarryvalley.pdf is the file name.
I don't think that's in this package, is it?
Oh, wait,
Let's see.
is it in the Quarry Valley folder?
Oh.
I know
It
it's.
is. It's number 9, Lisa, in the meeting materials folder.
Yeah. It's not-
Revenue?
Oh, sorry, they're all numbered. Good lord. They're all number
Yeah.
9. Hang on. It's the first number 9 in the
Yeah,
list?
here it is.
Yeah, it's just number 9. No.
Should be in your packet,
Possible right here.
August 26th, Quarry Valley.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's the one that says we have a
Yeah.
$638,797.22 surplus. I think the big question was, do we want to put money back into the capital fund? And I would strongly support doing that.
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion
Okay, so we're gonna have
to
a
move
discussion.
168,000 from the surplus to the capital fund.
Was that 168,000? Yeah, okay, even, all right. Okay, a motion's been made to take 168,000 of our surplus and move it back to the capital fund. Any discussion on that?
I mean,
I guess the discussion is, should we move more?
well, the way the actual wording from this too is, does the board want to transfer some or all of that to the general fund and put the funds back, the
Right, so you-
168,000 back into the capital improvement fund?
Right, so
Right.
you'd put,
Once it-
for something back.
Or some percentage, right?
Yeah.
Some part of it.
I mean, the 168 then recoups what we've spent out
Right.
thus
Right.
far, which allows us the opportunity if something comes up to have that back in that fund and not
Giant
have
water pipe
to,
breaking.
not have to pick lines.
Do you want to amend your motion, Lisa?
No, I'm just having discussion. My question for discussion is, do people feel like that is what we should put back in, or should we put more than 168 back in? It's a pretty in relationship to other districts, what is our surplus? It seems pretty substantial.
I don't have those numbers. I mean, obviously, Quarry Valley's gonna have a higher surplus just because.
Right, I was
of,
thinking like maybe Rutland Town, what theirs was.
I'd have to take a look at it and see.
Okay.
I don't have those numbers. I know that all 3 districts have surplus this year,
Okay.
but I don't know the offhand.
What is your pleasure?
I think moving the 168 makes logical sense to put it back in. You've spent it, but you've recouped it, so.
What if we were just making an even 200,000, just to have that
I'm
extra?
happy to amend and say 200,000.
I like even.
Like the round numbers, huh?
I mean, it makes sense. We have older
Sure.
buildings, weird things come up, and that's
Yeah.
what's happened.
It's not like
So,
prices are going down or anything, you know.
No, that's for sure.
I'm happy to amend and to move
So Lisa will amend the motion to
200,000
200,000 of
from
surplus
our surplus
to be put back into the capital fund,
to the capital improvement fund, yes.
capital improvement fund. Okay. You've heard the motion. Any more discussion?
I think we better grab it while.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it. Good deal. All right. Let's get to write that big check. All right. Anything else concerning finances at this time? We've had discussions off and on over the last 6 months about when we want to start our budget discussion. Our
Sooner
favorite,
rather than later, I think.
our favorite topic. What is the consensus of the board as to when we'd like to start that?
September.
September. We have a offer of September. Is there anybody would like it later than September?
No, I think like, it's also in our packets, our tax rates, and I think based on that, you're gonna have to be pretty conscientious about what this year's budget looks like.
Okay. So if September is going to be it, what are we going to ask the business manager to provide for us? He needs to know so he can,
Well, he'll adjust the timeline that he typically provides the board in October.
Yeah.
And then I think he'll just come in with the
Okay.
financials, particularly around the
All right.
438, 797, 22 surplus, about what to do, and then start looking from there.
And what that's gonna look like, once
Correct.
you
And
start with
start
that.
looking through scenarios about what the board can do with that, so.
and we want that on the agenda for next month.
And I think you also have to comment when he says, what do you want the budget to look like as an increase? Flat, negative, or whatever, that there needs to be real conversation about that, because that's how you build it. That's what makes it to build out.
Right.
So,
Okay, all right. So we'll leave that with Louis, and we'll look forward to that next month. We're up to public comments again. Anybody would like to make a public comment in person? No? Anybody online? Seeing none?
Thank you for having us.
We're always open. You're always welcome. Always welcome, regardless of where you sit. So our future meeting date will be September 10th, 2026. Any future agenda items that need to be brought up that you'd like to see on this time? Speak now, forever hold your peace. No. You can either email me or Chris, and we'll see if we can get those on if necessary. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
can I just ask, are we making principals come to the September meeting since you're just in school, and submit principal reports? I mean, you're in school.
It's up to the board. I mean, I think they would gladly welcome a break from the reports and a night off,
It
but
just
that's up to
seems
the
like
board.
to me,
so.
what you've given us now,
Usually-
and you're gonna give us September 10th.
Yeah, we've had September as kind of a pass for them so that they can
Yeah.
get our business back
I
together.
would say unless there's something egregious that's transpired and you need to come and ask for that 200,000 from the capital improvement fund,
Ask for 199.
that we allow, building admin a pass for the September.
Without
meeting.
objection? Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Now
Yes, thank you.
Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Lauren. All those in favor?
I